Okay, so right now what I'm going to cover is the basics of doing a blog post. We ran out of time the last time I got to talk about this, so we're going to talk about this first and get into how to do a blog post, because mostly that's where you're going to be doing a lot of your work inside your website. So I'm going to use this specific website here as a demo site. I'm going to cancel out of a couple of these. And Rana Jean has, better known as RJ, has graciously allowed us to use her site as a demo today. So we're gonna fiddle around on her site as we go along. So basically, she's got a tab on hers called Real Estate Blog. You can actually call it anything you want: news, blog, RJ's news, etc. And what we're going to do is learn how to put blog posts in it, and then make sure that they're showing up inside the latest blog postings and in a category widget, which isn't on her site at this point, because RJ's site just getting ready to come online. We're not quite finished with hers, but we'll be launching hers very shortly. So inside her dashboard, you'll notice there on the side here, there's a thing called posts. So when you click into, or when you mouse over it, you'll see all posts, add new categories, tags. You can also click it, which I left clicked it. And what that does is it brings you into the all posts section, and it opens up the drop down for all the posts, or for doing more work inside her posts. So categories, add new, and tags. So one of the things you want to first start thinking about in your website is categories. Categories are what blog posts get assigned to. So I'm going to jump ahead 1 second so that we actually can show categories on her site. So I'm going to jump into widgets. Widgets are basically things that control your sidebar and your footer. So I encourage you, if you're new to snooping around in your site, go in and look at what's called the widgets. So it's under Appearance, Widgets. Go in and look around, and you'll see primary sidebar, header right. So the header right is this area. The primary sidebar is this area. And then the other widgets are, these all cover the front page of your site. And then there's featured actually down into here. These are all front page widgets of your site all the way up. And then footer 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all the bottom of her site. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go into her primary sidebar, and I'm going to add something called categories. And I'm just going to click. I got it left clicked. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to drop it right underneath recent posts, real estate blog. And then I'm going to name it something called past news. Now, she can come in and change it. RJ, you can come in and change this over time. But for now, I'm going to leave it as that. I'm going to hit save. And because I'm an instant gratification guy, I'm going to go look at what I just did. And I expect to see something here pop up with categories that will say recent or past news. So I'm going to go back and refresh. And there it is, past news. Here's my blog posts that are the categories that are on the website at this point. Okay. So let's go back to, well, another note about categories. So categories are the filing cabinet for your blog posts. As you go about the business of writing blog posts over time, let's say you did one a week for a year. The math on that is there's 52 blog posts. What you want to do is make sure they're assigned to categories, because your visitors to your website, you don't want to make them go sort through 52 blog posts to find something to read. They're going to want to look at the categories. Oh, I'm interested in buyer blog posts or seller blog posts. Ooh, videos. I'm interested in video blog posts. So I can quickly get to the information that's contained inside these categories. So when you write a new blog post, you're going to want to think about what category you're going to plug it into. And if you don't have a category already set up for the topic of that blog post, you'll want to assign a new category and give it to that. Assign the post to it. So let's jump into adding a new post. So I'm back to posts. I'm going to left click so you can see this again. And when I get in here, this is basically the all posts tab, and it has all of your posts. Eventually there will be a little tab over here that says 1 of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 4, and these list in 20. Basically you do 20 blog posts or 25 blog posts, and then it goes to the next page. And this will be your running blog post from your first blog post to your latest blog post. So they always run in that order. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, if you notice, if you mouse over these, they pop up and you can do an edit. You can trash it. You can view it. You can, over here, you'll see who wrote it. So if you're a website owner if you're a broker, for example, and you've got 4 or 5 people writing content for you with different authors, you could see who's publishing to your website. You can see the categories that are getting assigned. And right now there's no tags set up, and I'll explain tags here in a little bit. So let's get into a post at this point. So I'm going to add new, and I'm actually going to go grab a little bit of content from a email that I have for blog posts, for a post that I'm going to be doing on somebody's website here shortly. And well, just so we have something more to see than just here we go. Okay, let's do, we're just going to do this. Control C. Okay, so I'm going to put in a post, and when you come into your blog, into a new post, you're going to see several things. You'll see a enter title here, and then you're going to see your main content area where you type in your message. This is either going to show up like this as a visual in the visual tab, or it's going to show up in the text tab. The text is where you're going to find the actual code or the HTML code that makes the blog post look the way it does in the browser. Okay, so I'll get into the text in a little bit, but I'm going to drop in the blog post that the content we're going to use inside here. So I've now put in my content. I know some of you are going to want to ask the question, can I write this content in Word and then copy it into WordPress? And the answer is yes, except you need to be careful about when you copy from Word into WordPress. You want to be careful about the code and copying code in. So WordPress sticks a bunch of styling code and, like if you're going to do bolds and explanation or italics and color changes, etc., you're going to be copying that code potentially from Word into WordPress. And my recommendation is, if you can do it inside WordPress, learn to use that as your starting point for your blog posts, because you'll see that most of your styling stuff is already in here. You have bold, italic. If you're going to do a strike through, you can do bullet points, you can do block quotes, you can do different types of alignments, you can add a hypertext, you can change fonts, you can change font sizes, variety of things. So my suggestion, type inside WordPress so that you don't get into a place of bringing in code that might mess up your styling once you're inside WordPress. So I'm going to just title this Health and Wellness. So I'm actually going to restart this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to trash this. I'm going to trash this post because I want to show you actually how this really works when you start something. So when you add new, the first thing you're going to want to do is if you can bring in a title. So I'm going to call this Health and Wellness for 55 plus communities. Okay? And when I click into this edit area, you'll notice that this permalink pops up. And what this permalink is this is going to be the web address of the page or of the post when you publish it on your site. So if you think about, most of you, when you bought a website from us, we've talked about either URL structure, or we've talked about search engine optimization, or we've talked about different things about our IDX and compared to other IDXs. But you're going to want to know about, different permalinks and different URLs for search engine optimization. You want to have good keywords in here versus, numbers and characters and things like that. What WordPress does is it makes it very easy for this permalink, and you don't have to do a whole lot of brain power to have the permalink show up perfectly when you publish your blog post. So I'm going to leave this as the default. You'll notice that the plus sign down here gets dropped out. There's no plus sign. So basically when you go from here and you have different characters and different symbols and things, they get dropped out in the permalink. So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to drop my content back in here. And here's my article, my blog post, and I'm going to put in my unordered list, my bullet points. So I'm just going to do what I know to do to get this in. If you've worked with Word and you've worked with doing word processing, you'll see. You'll just have to learn to play with this a little bit so this gets all aligned correctly. And again, it's just trial and error. So I'm going to now show you what this code looks like by going over and looking at the text box. So if you'll notice, there's my article, or there's my first couple of sentences, and here's my code. My point of showing this to you is, as you get better and more proficient at blogging, you'll want to know how to use code more so that you can do different things with text and making your pages look better versus just using the visual editor. So for the times that you're learning how to do blog posts and learning the habit, don't be afraid of jumping in and looking at the text so that you see what the code is. So this basically says unordered list. LI stands for list item, and then it closes the list item for the first bullet point, and then it opens up another list item, closes it, open, close. So the slash is closing that specific list item, okay? And then this closes the unordered list. So the slash closes it, a non-slash opens it up. So not that you have to know all of these terms, just that's how the code works. It's very simple. What I don't want you to do is get cross-eyed with, I don't want to know code or anything like that. It's relatively simple, and I'm encouraging, since you're on this call, you're learning how to manage your website, don't be afraid to jump in and look at the code. We call it hacking. I'm a self-taught hack. I've also been tutored and mentored for years, but I'm also a pretty good hack when I go in and look, and I'm not afraid to try things. So I'm going to pop back into Visual, and let's just say, for the sake of things, I'm ready to publish this post. And over here, there's a publish section, okay? So I can just click publish if I want to. The bad part is, if you guys remember, I haven't assigned this to a category. So one of the things that I'm going to do is assign this to a category. I'm actually going to select general news, because this seems like a general news category versus a buyer or a seller or something like that. So I'm going to select general news, And for the sake of it, I'm just going to publish this article right. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple things first. I can save my draft. So if I want to come in and do the work and I'm not quite done, I'm not quite ready to publish it, you can save it. So when I click save, it does its thinking, and now I'm saved as a draft. Okay, post draft updated. I can preview. So I'm going to right click and look at this in what it would look like inside her website, inside my website. You'll notice the URL isn't the real URL because it's just a draft that I'm previewing, but this is what it would look like. Okay. Then I can preview from here if I want. I can also change my status, pending review and draft. If you're going to have somebody else review it, you might have somebody, an editor involved, or somebody. If you don't quite have, well, all of you guys on the call today have administrative rights to your site, so it's not like you're going to have somebody else review your stuff. So typically, you would save draft and then you would come in and publish it at some point. Other things you can do, you can make this, you can make a post password protected or private. So if you don't want this displayed on your site unless you give somebody either the password or you give them the URL, well, you can do those as well, okay? I'm not going to get into stick this post on the front page. That we do that in a different methodology. So we're going to leave this as actually I'm going to drop it into private or password protected just so you can see. Here's where you would make up a password. And then if you did private, what that does is it just hides the URL and it doesn't put it on your website, okay? So back to public, and then I'm going to say okay. And then if you'll notice, you can do publish immediately, or if you click this, you can actually schedule this to publish anytime. So what you might be thinking, and what I suggest, one way you could do this is, like, let's say every Sunday, you have a 3-hour time block from noon to 3 that you can do some writing. What you could do is publish or write 3 or 4 blog posts and come in and assign them to be published on today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Saturday. And you could schedule these all to publish on different times during the week so that all of your posts are written for the week, but they don't publish themselves until the allotted time. What you don't want to do is publish 4 blog posts right away and then not touch your website for 2 weeks. What you should do is spread them out so that the search engines see content coming out of your site over a period of time. You might want to pay somebody to do a bunch of blog posts for you, get them preloaded, and then schedule them to launch over a couple of week period. That's a great way of putting in content and having it publish over time, so that it looks like you're doing work on your site, but you're actually using the scheduler with WordPress. You can actually change the time when it's like the time of day, which, from a strategy standpoint, if you're doing the same time every day at 10:26, Google might look at that and go, what's going on here? That doesn't look natural. So change your date. If you're going to put a bunch of blog posts in, change your dates and mix up your times a little bit. Not a big deal. Okay. So I'm actually going to publish immediately. Okay. So I've now published this blog post in the general news category, and I'm going to go look at her blog, and there's my article, or there's the blog post right there. Now this is the beginning of it, because this is actually what's called the archive page, and what it shows is all the blog posts basically that I've put in here since we've put our site together. So I want to actually see the blog post, so I click it, and there's my blog post, and there's my 4 bullet items. Okay, so that part is the real quick and dirty in how to put in a blog post. Now let's cover some of the. Actually, I'm going to open up the floor here for some questions at this point. Anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, I've got,
Bill,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So I heard you explain how this needs to be written in WordPress.
Go ahead, Rana Jean.
Okay, that it's better to write this in WordPress versus Word. Now, when we have somebody else that, for example, through my broker, I have blogs that um, we have authority to use. So if that's already written, what if it's not written in WordPress? Do I need to rewrite it here, or can I copy and paste it into here?
That's a great question, RJ. Um, so you can definitely copy from one location to another and drop. So, go to another website and drop it in. Here's a Caldwell Banker site. I could just go here. Here's a blog post. I could copy this, copy it, go over here to your website. I'm going to open up a new blog post. And example, and I'm going to drop this content in, right? So here's a case of, if you'll notice, my content looks a little different, right?
Right.
Why is that? Because I copied whatever, when I copy from here, I'm copying all of the, um, it looks like he's got bold going on, right? He's bolded all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So when you copy straight off of an HTML browser like that, which is probably what you're going to be doing, you're going to,
No, I mean,
well,
when it
you,
comes to the other part, when we get it from our broker, it actually is coming from within documents, if
got,
you will.
but you're still copying whatever is
Okay.
behind the scenes there in the code.
Okay.
You're still going to be copying it. Okay,
Okay.
some formatting that's the word I'm looking for. Some formatting is going to get copied over. Chances are, it might not,
Okay.
which is great, right? But just be aware. Mostly I'm saying this to be aware of what you're doing, because
Okay.
I'm now putting this in, and if you're not aware of this, like if I didn't tell you about this, you're going to go, wow, that looks really funny compared to here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm noticing here is he's actually not running bold. What he's running is something called heading 2, which is actually really bad. So what he would do, what he'd want to do is flip over to the text, and you'll notice he's got all these H2s in here. Okay? I don't want those at all, because H2s are what's called a headline. And headlines are, um, if you look at here, and this is for everybody, by the way, not just RJ. But you'll notice headline 1, headline 2, 3, 4, and so on. When you think about headings, this is your main heading. This is your headline 1. Okay, when you put in blog posts, you're going to only want to work with headlines 2 through 6. Okay, and think about it as a newspaper. Here's the front of your newspaper. You pick up the Arizona Republic, and you look at the front page, and there's the major headline, and then there's sub headlines throughout the newspaper on the front page, correct? So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
want to I'm going to get rid of this headline so that I can talk about this in a different way. So I'm going to go back to paragraph. Now that looks more familiar, okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm telling you, the way we set up your site is, when we publish this is your headline. So when I go back and I look at your website, that's the headline of this specific blog post or this specific news article, okay? When I
Mm-hmm.
go back to here, I can go in and let's just stick in example of an H2 headline. Oops. So I want to mouse. I want to show a new headline here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to highlight it like that. Okay. Now I've got a headline I've got an H2 headline. Headlines are are hierarchical. Like they run in order, so you really only want to have one H1, maybe an H2, two H2s maximum, and maybe an H3 or an H3 or H4 thrown in there. Headlines are good for breaking up your content. Like if you write a 400 word blog post, headlines can break up the content a little bit so that it's more readable and more scannable by the visitor. Okay, when somebody reads um, a blog post, and think about this on your own. When you read content, do I like reading and seeing an article that just has a bunch of text, or do I like to see it broken up into different headlines and different bullet points? And the sort of the best practice you want to be thinking about is, how do I make this interesting for my readers so I get them to read it? Okay, and the way you do that is you put in different graphical elements like headlines, pictures. You do italics, you do block quotes, you do ordered and unordered lists. You do different things to draw attention and let somebody scan through quickly what this blog post is about. If you're going to use headlines, make sure all the headlines have to do with your main headline. So example of an H2 headline, it's related to example. So those make sense, okay? If you're going to put it in H3, do the same thing. All right, now what you don't want to do is, here where it says professional realtor, and we see this, I see this a lot with my client sites, our client sites, is somebody will use this little box here for doing bolding. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is use bold, okay? Because bolding notifies the Google and the search engines that this is a bolded element. It's an important word. That's why I bolded it. It's not a new headline, okay? Because if you do all headlines throughout all of your formatting here, you're telling the search engines that this is all headline 2. They're probably going to try to penalize you, or they might penalize you or dismiss this content, because you're basically saying this whole thing is super important H2 stuff, and it's really not. So they're going to dismiss it or not rank it very high or give it any ranking at all, okay? So you're going to want to use these sparingly. Mostly when you start writing an article, you're going to use a paragraph, and you won't ever mess with this box except to drop in different headlines throughout your content, okay? So I'm going to unmute you, RJ. Where'd you go? There you go. So RJ, hopefully that answers your question about when you copy in content. That you'll want to look at this formatting and make sure that you're not carrying in, and you'll know as soon as you drop it in the visual text, you'll know whether you've carried in formatting or not. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Next thing I'm going to make a comment about is and this isn't directed at RJ herself, but when you guys, very common thing is, can I copy content and put it in my website? And the short answer is yes. The longer answer is yes, but. So the but covers copyright. The but covers, why are you doing that? Why are you copying directly into your site? And the answer is, well, so that I can get some content published, some blog posts published. Now, here's the problem with what you're asking or what you're thinking about doing is if you're going to previously published content or content that other people have access to. In your case, RJ, you have access to content that other people are publishing also, okay? Unless it's specifically, uniquely written for you, count on it being published at least one other time or 2 other times, 100 other times before you, okay? So what you're going to want to do is change the first 20%, 25, 30% of that content when you publish it onto your website. So here I take this article, I drop it into my new blog post, and what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to rewrite at least that portion of it, okay? Because what that does is it makes it unique enough to the search engines. Because when the search engines come in here and they see, oh, thanks for taking the time, blah, 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 and they publish that, or they look at it, they know almost instantly, because they're computers, right? So they're very fast. They know almost instantly, oh, we've seen this content before, and here's where we saw it. And it was published first on this website. So the person who's going to get credit for this content most of the time is going to be the person who publishes it first, okay? So that's why if you're going to copy it, and you're going to copy something that's been used before or has the opportunity to be used before, I'm saying make it your own. Don't just copy and paste to get something in there. Unless it's, I don't even know of a good time to actually do it unless you're going to take a snippet of something, use it as a block quote, and then discuss it from there. That might be something when you're going to, like if you're going to copy something out of AZ Central or the Republic and you put a quote in, yeah, copy that verbatim and then plug it into your post, but then write around it your own stuff, okay? Does anybody have any questions about that conversation? No questions? Okay, I'm going to keep talking then. All right, so what you're going to also want to do is, let's say the content that you're writing about is, and we could go back to mine over here. Well, we'll just stick with this one now that we're doing this one as a test. Let's say we're going to call this the steps to buying a home. Okay? Something legitimately, that's legitimately relevant for a real estate website is the steps to buying a home. That could be on the real estate side or real estate perspective, or it could be on the financing perspective. Either or, there's also, there's the blend of just the overall steps to buying a house, okay? What you're going to want to do is make this, right now, that title is generic for anywhere in the world, really, where you can buy a home. So you're going to want to change this to say something about Arizona. You might even change, drop it into Phoenix, or even into, say, Park Promenade, where I live, right? So you want to drop it into your market area as much as you can so that you're competing more directly for people doing searches for material in their local neighborhood or that's associated with their IP address of their computer, okay? Because Google looks at your IP address and where you're doing a search from. If you're doing a search from Phoenix, they want to give you relevant information from Phoenix, not from Boston. So if you're writing a blog post about the steps to buying a home and you don't put something in here, you're basically competing for this article to come up or this blog post to come up in search engines anywhere in the country, and you're not going to rank. So you're going to call me in 6 months ago, why isn't my blog post showing up, or why aren't I getting any traffic? And we'll go look at your blog post, and you'll have 25 written blog posts, but nothing about Arizona, or nothing that's got a keyword in it. The next thing about that is you want to have keywords in here that are relevant to what people are searching for. So are people searching for the steps to buying a home? Yes, no, I don't know. But when you're writing your content, you want to think about the conversations that you're having with your clients. What questions are they asking you? They're asking, what's an HOA? They might be asking that, okay? I would put in front here, what's an HOA in Arizona or in Phoenix or whatever. So you want to make it specific to your market area, all right? Then when you start writing your content, you're going to want to say, a lot of my clients ask me about HOAs, or ask me the question, ask me the question, what's an HOA? Actually, someone just knocked on my door. Hang on, everybody. I'm going to put you on mute just for a second, or I'm going to put myself on. Actually, just hang in there 1 second. I'll be right. I'll be right there. All right, I'm back. Okay, so what's an HOA? This is a keyword that I'm using up here. Okay, and more specifically, what's an HOA in Arizona? Okay. And then, the next sentence you might want to put in HOA stands for Homeowners Association. Okay. Now, you guys might be thinking this is pretty basic stuff. I don't know. But you want to spell it out. Don't assume that the reader knows what you're talking about. Acronyms are not understood. We're professionals in our industry. I think most of you guys know that I've done a fair amount of mortgage work in my career, but we tend to use these acronyms for things, and they don't. People don't know what they are. People don't know what MLS stands for. Major League Soccer. We know that it stands for Multiple Listing Service, but consumers don't necessarily know what it stands for. So spell it out if you're explaining it in an article or a blog post, okay? The other reason you want to put some of this in your first paragraph, your first sentences, is the search engines are looking at what's your title say, what's your URL going to say, okay? So I filled this in ahead of time. I'm going to actually hit publish really quick so that it changes this to where it should be. So if you notice, this actually changed my permalink to what's in my title because I hadn't published it yet. So if you're typing along or you come in here and you fill this out and then you go up here, this isn't going to say what you want it to say until you hit publish. It'll fix itself. Now let's say, you know what? I want to change this. I can come in and edit. I'm going to get rid of in. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to say, what's HOA Arizona? Okay. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit update. And you'll notice this says, what's HOA? Now that's saved. Okay. So the search engines are going to be looking from a search engine optimization standpoint. What's your title say? What's your URL say? What's your content say? So if those are all in alignment, your content has a much better chance of getting ranked for what you want it to get ranked for. Okay, that's the formula. This also, from a search engine optimization standpoint, the way we set up your site is this also serves as what's called your page title. So your title, your headline, your URL or your permalink, and your content. So let's go look at this on RJ's site really quick just so that you guys can see what it is. So here it is, what's an HOA? So I click this and you'll notice there's my example of the H2 headline. There's my H1 headline. And then if I go up here, you're going to see what's an HOA in Arizona. That's the title of this page. So when the search engines come in, one of the first things they see is what's the title of the page. I'll show you what that looks like in code really quickly. Again, don't get cross-eyed with the code examples I'm showing you. But you'll notice right here in the title right away, what's an HOA? So literally the fifth line in is the title to what the page is. So Google and the search engines are already alerted to what does this title say? What is this title? Okay? I'm going to get rid of this now. So when you do in your blog post here, when you put in your headline, that fills in what your page title is, fills in your headline, fills in your permalink, okay? Which is these are all very important search engine optimization pieces. The title, the headline, and the URL of this specific page. And then inside my content, I've got some words related to these things. So as you're writing your content, you want to work into your content not only the sort of the keyword that you're playing for, what's an HOA, but you want to talk about HOA stands for homeowners association. You know, you'll use HOA and homeowners throughout your article. You know, give it a couple times, mention it a couple times throughout your content so that the search engines know this page is about what's an HOA. Don't go overboard and don't make it, you know, because there's a blend between you're writing for the website and for your user, but you're also writing a little bit for the search engines so that they know what this page is about. It's supposed to be a naturally written article for a human being, so keep that in mind. Don't, you know, HOA, 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 HOA. Well, Google's probably not going to rank that either because they know now you're stuffing HOA into here to make your point across. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, we used to do that for SEO. We would put in a bunch of references and this page would generally rank. Well, over the last couple of years, Google's gotten smart to that and said, don't do that because we're going to hammer your website. Okay? So I am showing you this so that you really don't have to worry too much from a search engine optimization perspective. If you keep in mind your keyword, you tie it to your local market, either Arizona, Phoenix, subdivision, buying a house in Arizona, selling a house in Arizona, listing your house in Arizona. I would get it farther down into Arizona. Get it into your subdivision, get it into your niche market, get it down as far as you can. Now, that'll reduce the opportunities for it to get found in the search engines by a lot of people, but it gets you closer into the buying cycle for whoever's looking for that specific term or that specific question. So think about your own search habits. When you go look for something in Google and you're closer to buying something, you go type in exactly what you want and you hopefully get the results you're looking for, usually within, you know, the first couple of looks. Same thing on your website. The more specific you can get, the better traffic, in theory, should come to your website that is more related to the type of client and, you know, where they are in the buying cycle for you to work with them. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say at this point about the blog post, the search engine optimization of a blog post. Title, headline, domain or URL, permalink. Get your content to include some type of references to your keywords. Assign it to a category and publish it. That's the real down and dirty of publishing a quick article or a quick blog post. Now I know you guys want to know, well, how do I put in a picture? And right here is an example, or right here is a big button that says add media. You're going to want to click this, and inside your website, you're already going to have some images. You could use those images. You can also upload your own files. And you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can either select files, which then opens up it opens up wherever you're going to come into your website from, or it opens up into your PC somewhere, your Mac somewhere. And I'm going to drop into where I have my iStock photos. And I can do this one of two ways. I can double click one in and it now uploads. Okay, there's my photo. And over here, because it's the first time I'm loading in this photo, you can write in a title of it, which would be home buyers making an offer. Okay, I always copy what's in my title and I drop it into my alt text. It's very important to put something in alt text when you assign this, okay, or when you're putting in an image. You're going to align it in a variety of ways. Left, center, right. Pick one of those three. And my recommendation is either you pick left or right, and it's going to be a personal preference on your end. I always do right side alignments. I don't want the pictures necessarily to get in the way of what the person's reading. You don't want to put none, but assign it to something. And then you want to get rid of the link to and put none. You don't want this photo to link to anything. because it links to just a photo page which has no content on it. It doesn't do your site any good. And then typically it's gonna default to the smallest or one of the smaller size settings, and I'm now gonna hit insert into post. There's my photo. Now a quick and dirty on this. That's how it popped in. I'm in the visual screen. Here's what it looks like in the editor. So here's a place where it works to, like, that's code. I don't, it's hard to read through, but you'll notice it's a width of 300, a height of 225. In the visual tab, if you left click once on here, these boxes show up. You can left click and drag and move this image to any size you want. Okay. Pretty slick the way WordPress lets you resize photos. If I want to change my alignment, for example, I left clicked on this again. This little box pops up. I can change my alignment. I can change my alt text. I can change my title. Okay. I can put in a link. Let's say I want to link this to a pre-qualification page or the 5 steps to buying a house page. I could put that in here if I wanted to. Okay. Then you hit update. And then you publish this. So I'm going to update it. And this is our test article that we were working with. I'm going to refresh this page. There's my article. Okay, beautiful. Now, RJ's got a YouTube channel. So we're going to go out to her YouTube channel. And for the sake of things, we're going to go in and we're going to look at this. She wants to put this video on her website. So in this specific article. So the way most of you on the call, I think just about everybody on the call, yeah, everybody on the webinar today, you're going to be inserting videos this very specific way. So when you get to this base page, you're going to click share, and you're going to copy this URL just like that. So I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go over to my post, and I'm going to stick it at the top of my post. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control V. I'm going to move my content down some, and then right here after the HTTP, I'm going to put a V. So that specifies video. Okay, then I'm going to hit Update, and I'm going to quickly make sure that I believe her settings are on, but we'll find out here shortly. Yeah, these are already set. This is already set up. So do not include related videos. 250 by 141, 600 by 338. She's good to go. We try to set this up when we launch your site so that it's ready to go and you don't have to fiddle with it. So I'm going to go back to my specific blog post. Okay, there's my blog post. There's my content. It's the video is not going to show up in your website, okay, when you publish it this way. So now I'm going to hit update. Like it's not going to actually show a video inside WordPress that you can watch from inside your dashboard, okay? It's just going to show this link, okay? Now I'm going to go look at my blog post on this specific page. Computer overloaded. Wow. No, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to keep going and see what happens. If we crash, we'll restart. So don't go anywhere. So there's my video. And, I have some alignment things to fiddle with here. But that video is now pulling from YouTube and dropped on this specific page. So that's sort of that's the quick and dirty of how to do a video. And actually what I would do is I would pull this down and click and drag and drop it where I want it to show up. I'm going to hit update. And here I'm going to hit update. Yeah, so I moved that picture down. And that's how easy it was to realign that picture. I just clicked and dragged it, dropped it to the front of the line where I wanted it to go. And now this looks much better, okay? So that's plugging in a picture, a video. Now let's plug in a quick form so that you guys can see how we do that. So here I am, I'm at the end, and I simply want to meet with you. Call me. I will assist you find the right home for your family. To contact me, fill out the form below. I typically don't make somebody click a contact me link to the contact me page. What I typically do nowadays is at the end of every blog post, at the end of just about every page, I give them a way to contact me right away. So I'm going to insert contact me. I'm going to insert a form. So I'm going to add one of these two boxes up here. There's add gravity form. You already have, when you get a site from us, you already have a variety of forms plugged into your site. I would just drop in the contact us form, unclick display form title and the description because you don't need those. You just need the form here. Oops. I'm gonna move this because that doesn't need to be there. Okay. So there's my form. This is what's called shortcode, if you're wondering what this is called. I'm now telling WordPress to plug in this specific form from Gravity Forms, which is right here, on this specific page. So let's update this. I'm going to get rid of YouTube here. And I'm going to refresh this page. And there's my form. I will assist you in finding the perfect home for your family. Contact me, fill out the form below. There's the form. Fill it out, click submit. RJ gets a lead. Okay, that's how you put together a blog post using video, a picture, and a form. Okay, so I'm going to actually end the recording that I'm doing at this point, and let me just stop this for a second.